morning, Happy New Year. My name is Amy and today I'm going to do all of my 2025 roundups. I was quite busy throughout December, so I didn't manage to get any videos done. So I'm leaving them now to the beginning of January whilst I finally have some free time. So I'm going to begin today with all of the colouring pages that I coloured during 2025. I am going to go through them in chronological order, starting with last January. And just bear in mind that this time last year, I was in a very different place than I am now. I was a lot slower to colour pages, and I was averaging 1 page a month. That has since gone up to around sort of 3 or 4 pages a month, so it's still not impressive, so to speak. But yeah, so we will begin with the very first page that I completed in 2025. And again, you may have seen some of these before, because although I haven't done a completed pages video before, I have shown some of my completed pages. So where are you? Right, here we go. So this was the very first page I completed in 2025, and it is Millie Marotter's Rose Robin from it's in Wildlife Wonders, this one, but this is a compilation book, so it's also in, I'm going to say Beautiful Birds and Treetop Treasures, but I will have to double check that. So yes, first page completed, and I did this using a Christmas gift that I received in 2024, which was my Artix acrylic markers. So it was my first time using them on a page, and I've said this previously, but I like how I did the feathers here. It moved it from having like really solid blunt lines to being a lot sort of more blended. I didn't really know what I was doing with this, so this actually went through several different iterations as I tried to work out what I was doing. And the background was a complete nightmare. But I finished it, and all things considered, I am fairly proud of it. I know I'm usually quite negative about this one, but on the whole, I do think it is a nice picture. It's just a shame about the background. So yes, that was the only page I completed in January. Like I said, at the beginning of last year, I was averaging 1 page a month. So moving on to February, and that is in the same book. So we are looking now for Millie Marotta Wildlife Wonders, the Flamingo page, which again is a page that you may have already seen before. Here it is. So this was done as a prompt for the Millie Marotta Facebook group. In February, the prompt was to use reds, pinks and hearts, and I cheated a little bit because I used purple on the background, and I didn't explicitly use any hearts, but the flamingos are in like a heart shape, so I figured that kind of counted. And again, I used acrylic markers on this. Rather than just Artex, I used Tooly Art paint pens, and the background was done with Inktense, and the rest of it I believe was done with my Faber-Castell Albert Dürer pencils. I still just had the 36 set at the time, so I was quite limited on colours, but I made up for that with all the acrylics. I think my main criticism of this page was that it wasn't as bright and colourful as I'd planned for it to be, but I think it's still nice. I really like the gradient that I did from the red to the pink on the neck. I quite like how I did the whites around the eyes. I think this flamingo probably looks better than this flamingo, but sisters not twins, I suppose. So that is the only page I did in February. So moving on to March, And once again, it is a Millie Marotta page, but this time it is in Precious Planet. So let me just dig that one out. Here we go. So for this one, this was part of a colouring collaboration project where everyone signed up to do a page, and then at the end of the project the pages were all put together into a slideshow, which is also available on YouTube, and I will link it because I think everyone who participated in it did absolutely wonderful pictures and they all deserve to be celebrated. But yes, so for this one I used Inktense on the background. Sorry, I've got a really croaky throat. Just bear with me one moment. The problem with being a house hermit is I don't actually talk for long periods of time anymore. So whenever I do these videos, my voice starts to get croaky because I'm just not used to speaking out loud. So as I was saying, so the background was done with Derwent Inktense. The leaves and the fish, the splendid toadfish, were done with Albrecht Dürer pencils, I think. May also have been more Inktense. The glowing was done with, I think it was this neon Tuliat paint pen. May also have been another one, I'm not sure, but yeah, so yeah, no, I think it was either that, no, because my other paint pens don't, that was definitely a neon one. Sorry, I'm just trying to recall what I did because I'm so disorganised I don't actually write down a lot of what I do. I do, where did I put it? Ah, it's over there. The one time I sit down to do a video and I have to stand up again. Oh, got it. So this stunning piece of embarrassment is my sketchbook. I say sketchbook, it's my scribble book. So this was when I was practicing the background for the flamingos. This was when I was choosing colours for the flamingos. This page here was when I was practicing a technique for doing the scales, where and I'll just get a paint pen. So I was practicing essentially doing this in row. I don't know if you can see that actually. Doing this in rows to try and create like a scale effect. And this pen is slightly dirty, so it's showing up a bit more than it would. Because these paint pens, they dry somewhat translucently, the idea was if I coloured the picture underneath, so I did all the standard colouring, I believe it had like rosette type pattern on it, like you can see here with like the circles. So I coloured all those in first, and then I went over and I did this to try and create like a scale effect. On hindsight, I don't like it. I think it was a terrible idea, and it makes my toadfish look very knobbly. But it was an experiment and I learnt from it, I think. I learnt not to do it again, so that counts as learning. And I mean, I am overall pleased with the page, even if I'm not pleased with the effect I did on the fish, because I liked that I managed to get the glowy effect around all the neon bits in the water, and that was just straight colouring with Inktense, just making sure that the light bits were light and the dark bits were dark. It's very straightforward but very effective, I thought. So yeah, that was the one and only page I did in March, Millie Marotta's Precious Planet. And then things started shifting in April, because in April I did not finish a Millie Marotta page. In fact, the only page I did in April, if I can find it, is from Alexis E. Thompson's Tarot Colouring. I did the very first page, and that is the Fool. There we go. I'm hoping this is all in frame because I'm sitting down again and I can't actually see where the camera is looking, but I'm hoping it's fine. Now this page, the colour palette wasn't so much a palette as I was trying to do everything in natural colours. However, I did look at a video of somebody else colouring this in, and it's only in the last month or so that I realised that the video that I was watching to help me with this, to do things like distinguish what shapes the mountains were, although again I didn't copy it exactly because hers looks so much better than mine, but Amy Ward Art, it turns out I was using your colour along of the Fool as a guide before I even knew who you were. Yeah, so this page actually started several months prior to April. I'd gotten the acrylic, Artex acrylic gold markers, the gold ones, as a gift, and so I started just by doing the border, and then I was like, okay, I've done the border, so now I'm gonna like do all the rest of the background. So I did all it in black, and then I was like, well, I've half done the page now, so I might as well just do the rest of it. So I did the goose, and yeah, I did take some guidance doing the head from Amy at Amy Ward Art, and I think I kept with her for about as far as the neck, and then I kind of started doing my own thing with the feathers. So this, the feathers, was another instance where I coloured it in pencil but then went over it with a white acrylic paint pen to kind of make it more faded. This, however, was done entirely with pencil. Looking back at it, like, it kind of looks like I gave up on this bit because I did this bit in brown and this bit's been left white. But I probably wouldn't go back and change it now. I really struggled with the cliffside and the mountains in the background because I struggle with visualizing where the light would hit, which is why I referred to some guidance to see how other people were colouring it. And yeah, I mean, I think I did a fairly okay job. It's not perfect. Amy's version is much nicer. However, I am still proud of what I've achieved with this one. The flowers were, again, this was a mixture of pencil, and then I went over with acrylic, Artex acrylic marker, and then I also did the outline with just a standard, I don't think it was even Tulia, I think it was my generic, I think it might have been this one. Yeah, that's probably it. Generic acrylic paint pen. Side note, if anyone knows of like someone who sells these hard tip ones that aren't Tooly art, because I went back to my purchase from Amazon where I got these and they're no longer being sold, because I mean, I'm assuming that it's just because there's some cheap Chinese thing that has either since changed name or gone out of business. And these were really cheap, but they're also some of the best ones I've actually used. So I'd be interested to see if like there's another equivalent version of these for when mine run out, because I mean, I know my white one is going to run out soon. But yeah, so if anyone does know, that would be super helpful, thank you. And I will link Amy Ward Art's video of her doing the Fool in my description below, because her version is lovely. She did blue on here, and I think we had slightly different interpretations of what was like leaf. I think I made a mistake here, and this was supposed to be part of a leaf. Yeah. But yeah, so that was my one and only April page completed. And so far it is the only page I've done in this book. I would like to do more, but it's just a case of getting around to it. Because after April, and this is where I had joined a mythographic group. So after April comes May, and this is the first month where I actually completed 2 pages within 1 month. The first one being from Mythographic Menagerie, if I can find that. I don't know why, but I decided to put all of the books on my lap, as if that was a really good idea. So I'm sitting here clutching this massive pile, well, I say massive, clutching this pile of books and trying to still be fairly coherent. Yeah, don't know what I'm doing half the time. So yes, Mythographic Menagerie. The page that I did in this was towards the back, and this was the Jackalopes in Teacups page. So this was done as part of the Mythographic Easter prompt, which was to colour in bunnies and ducklings. So this was actually a prompt from April, but it took me till May to do it, and I haven't dated this, which I should have done. And I can't remember exactly when I completed it, so I'll have to go back and figure that out at some point. So this, I based the teacups with generic felt tips, and I used, I'm talking really slowly because I'm trying to think, I used my Faber-Castell Albert Dürer pencils on the background. However, I didn't put the pencils to the page. I took the pigment off the pencil with a paintbrush and applied it to the page that way. The flowers were just dry coloured Albert Dürers. The bunnies were using a combination of my Pitt pens and my acrylic markers. The antlers were again based with Pitt pens and then pencil over the top. And this was the acrylic brush tip markers and then acrylic paint pen for the highlights, I think. I really need to get into the habit of writing down what I do, but that sounds about right. Yeah. So yeah, this was the first ever mythographic page that I did, and I am actually very pleased with it. I did struggle a bit with the details on the kettles, and I call these kettles or teapots, but I don't know if anyone else has realised this, but they don't have any handles. So I'm not quite sure how you would pour tea from them, because this bit would be really hot if you were holding it. Also, the spouts go upwards, which isn't, I mean, that's not really an optimal angle for pouring tea. But I mean, they're not real teapots and jackalopes aren't real, so it doesn't really matter. But it did strike me, I do recall, whilst I was colouring this, I was like, why don't they have handles? But it's probably just as well, because a handle would have just been another complication for me to try and colour, so. But yeah, so that was the first page I did, I completed in May, and also the first ever mythographic page that I completed. Today it's still the only page in this book that I have done. The next page I completed was also a mythographic book, but this time it was in Mythical Beasts by Veronica Glinska. So this one was another group prompt, although I say group prompt, but I think it's like a colouring community prompt, Mermaid. So I did the mermaid page in here, and it's not one that I've actually posted online because I wasn't very thrilled with how I did it. So I don't like how I did the background. I tried to do like light rippling down and I don't think it was very effective. I don't like how I did the mountains. Not a super big fan of how I did the mermaids. I think they look a bit dull. They are supposed to be, I don't know if you can see, they are supposed to be a bit shimmery, but not massively so. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of how this one turned out, which is why I never posted it. But still, I did participate in Mermay, and this was the page I did. So yeah, that was the 2 pages I did for May. And then moving on to June is actually the same book again. And this one wasn't following a prompt, it was just a page that I really liked the look of, so I thought I'd give it a go. And that is this page here. And the interesting thing about this page is it was my first time using fixative, and also my first time using ink pads. And I did make a mess, and some parts of the page were damaged from the fixative. And I really wish I had used like a washi tape border because it's quite messy around the edges. And I didn't like the effect that I'd done with the ink pads in the background, so I ended up colouring over the whole background with pencil, which completely defeated the purpose of having the ink background. Having said that, I do still really like this page. And again, this is another page where hopefully if I tilt it a bit, you can see there is a bit of shimmer. So the fairy herself was coloured using, I think it was Albert Dura's, but it might have been Inktense. Either way, it was a watercolour medium. Yeah, no, I can't quite remember. The colours suggest to me that it was Inktense. However, I know I reworked it a few times, which doesn't really go with Inktense, so I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know, and I will check the Book of Horror. Oh, can't look at that page. So that was my Jackalope page. This was this page. So these were the inks. Oh yes, I remember. I based it with Pitt pens. That's why the colours are a bit different. So I based it with Pitt pens, and then I went over with my Albert Dürer Faber-Castell pencils, which is why it's darker than the pencils I have in the 36 set. That makes sense, yes. The highlights were done with silver acrylic Artix, and I think some white paint pen as well. And the wings, this is something I was using I was using a lot of new products because I kept getting things. And in addition to the ink pads, I had recently acquired some of these really cheap, like Temu style pearlescent watercolour paints. And I think I did like a, let's try and find it. Yeah, on here. This bottom bit here, I don't know if you can see the shine. This is when I first got hold of the watercolours, and I was just creating like a little rainbow to see what sort of colours, because I know you're supposed to swatch stuff, but I'm really bad at doing that, so I just kind of, yeah, and it was really shiny and shimmery, and I was like, I need to use this. So I did it on the wings. Yeah. But yeah, that was the only page that I completed in June, and also my third ever mythographic page. You can see that things kind of took a turn a quarter of the way through the year. I went from Millie Mortar to pretty much just mythographics. So you can probably guess what book series the next picture is going to be if we're moving on to July now. So July, I completed 2 pages, and the first page was actually part of a little group buddy colour that we started with some lovely ladies that were looking to get into doing mythographics, but wanted a bit of support because they were quite intimidating. So we started with Wild Summer. We figured it's summer, let's do a summer page, and we'll give ourselves 3 months to do it, so the whole summer season. And we coloured in this, which I call the Watermelon Panda page, because it's got a watermelon and a panda on it. This background was done with Derwent Chroma Flows. The water was based with pip pens and then gone over with Chroma Flows and acrylics, I think. Let's go back to the sketchbook. Yes, so this is where I was working out colour combination for the background, a bit of watermelon. Yeah, I'm sure other people do much more aesthetically pleasing planning pages, but I am not one of them. So yeah, eventually I decided, because I was trying to work out how to get the gradient from like a sunset pink into blue, and I couldn't work out how you would do it without like getting green, and I really didn't want green in the sky. And then I was like, well, in real life you get that pink to blue gradient without having to go through, like, or maybe they are all there but you just don't see them. So I started looking at sunset backgrounds on Google, and I found one that was quite nice, and I used that like on my planning page, which I will edit in a version of. I didn't stick to it, and my colours ended up being a lot more vibrant than I had anticipated. But yeah, I think it turned out quite nice. I'm not fond of how I did the water. I think that has definite room for improvement. I still find it quite confusing and intimidating just how many lines that Joseph Kettingbang puts into the details of his work, because then I feel like I have to kind of conform to those lines, and sometimes I don't really think they make sense. So then the end result ends up looking far too liney for what should be something a lot more flowy, if that makes sense. And it's something I really should know better, because with the Millie Marotta pages I'm perfectly capable of ignoring the lines on that, so I should be capable of ignoring lines on this. But at this point I clearly haven't learnt to do that just yet. But yeah, this was Wild Summer by Joseph Kettingbang, and I completed this in July. And the second page I did in July was, and I wouldn't really call this a proper page completed because it's just, where are you? Oh, so it was completed, but then I went and started adding a background, and the background hasn't been completed yet, so it looks atrocious. So the mollusk itself was completed, and I posted it as a completed picture, just the mollusk by itself. And then I decided I didn't like the ink blob on the background, so I was gonna like blend it in, and And as you can see, I still haven't finished doing that. So yeah, this was a completed page and now it's a work in progress. Yeah. It's not great, is it? And again, I completed a complete mess of this, because you can see this is like I painted over the edge of a bunch of the pages, and again I didn't use washi tape, so that created a mess. And yeah, it's I don't know if I ever will finish it, and I kind of wish I'd just left it as just the mollusk, even if that wasn't like the most exciting thing. But never mind. We live and learn, I suppose. So next up we are moving on to August, and this is the first month in which I completed, well, I say I completed 3 pages. No, I did complete 3 pages. Yeah, no, it's the month after this that I'm a bit... So the completed pages for August, one of which was in Joseph Cattingbang's Mythographic Wild Summer again. So that's my honeybee page. And I did this page because my husband chose it. He likes playing Hunt Showdown, and one of the things you can do in Hunt Showdown is attack people with bees. So he took one look at this, saw the bees, and was just like, bees! So I had to colour this one. So this was based using Pitt pens, and then gone over with a combination of Albert Dürer pencils and acrylic paint pens, and then as finishing touch the wings and the veil. I don't know if you can see that, they've got a nice little bit of translucent glimmer. I tried to do it so that the jar looked like it was made of glass, which meant just doing things like making sure that the petals were still visible in the background, and I also tried to make the wings translucent, which meant colouring the bee under the wings. So I had to try and work out what shape their bodies would be, because I mean for this one for instance the wing covers a large part of the body, so I was just like, is it going to have like a bump and then a thing, or is it just going to be... I did my best. And I think they turned out reasonably okay. I did give up towards the end when it came to doing this label. So if I could go back, and I mean I could go back and do this a bit nicer, like even just a bit more shading on the word or something, then yeah. But on the whole I am quite pleased with this. I did find it very difficult to do the liquid again, as I mentioned with the Panda watermelon page. Joseph Cattingbang includes loads of lines in the work, and I did try much harder in this one to ignore a bunch of the lines and just do ones that I thought were appropriate in order to make the honey look gloopy and viscous rather than just like watery. I think I did a reasonably good job. I'm really proud particularly of this specific bit here. The honey here looks really good. I don't think the honey here looks particularly great. But yeah, it was a case of trying to work out like how honey pours. So I was looking at a lot of pages of honey, and obviously in real life they don't have like all these like lines and stuff in them, and yeah, it's just trying to decipher the line work sometimes is the biggest barrier to doing a page. But yeah, I was quite proud of this one. And then the second page I did in August was because someone informed me of a tag called Frogust or Frogust, and so naturally I had to colour in a frog because I love frogs. And so that frog is right here. And this was done primarily using my Albic drawers and my acrylic paint pens. It was also done fairly quickly, so I mean, I call this a low effort page, I suppose, but I'm still really pleased with it. I just love pink and green together. I think it's a really nice colour combination. And yeah, I really like how this one turned out. And it also reminded me that, you know, colouring in Lulu Mayo books aren't in any way scary or intimidating. So yeah. So this one was then immediately followed with colouring in another Lulu Mayo book, which was in A Million Sea Creatures, which I have put where exactly? That's cute animals, that's little monsters. Puppies, kittens, llamas. It should be here. Oh, there it is. Okay, so A Million Sea Creatures. So I was feeling so pumped at having done that frog page in A Million Magical Creatures that I was like, I will do Colouring Bumblebee's Scavenger Hunt. And so I found a page in A Million Sea Creatures that had, I believe, bubbles, and that's not the page. Where are you? How am I so bad at oh, here we go. Here we go. So I believe the prompt was bubbles and a turtle. So for this page, I did the background using an ink pad, and I discovered, much to my dismay, that for some reason when doing this page, trying to apply acrylic brush markers over the ink pad was creating this really horrible texture and making it very difficult to actually colour. So this ended up not being a page that I was particularly fond of, and I did kind of give up on it and just decide that it was done after, at a certain point. I was just like, no more, I don't want to do this anymore. So this is complete because I'm not going to do anything else to finish it off. Yeah, I like the penguins. Bearing in mind, because I did all the background in blue, I had to put loads of white down to get rid of the blue on the penguin's fur. I like my little translucent ghosts. Again, I think they probably could have been done better. This one particularly, he's very grainy. But yeah, I did also do, I think because llamas was also a page, object to find for August. So I started doing this one. I did accidentally erase part of this llama's face and had to draw it back on. It feels really horrible. And I don't count this one as a completed page because I haven't coloured in the birds yet. And that would be really easy to just finish off quickly so that I could count this as another finished page. But I never did. So maybe I will do that later on today, just so I can say that it is actually done. So yeah, that is the 3 and a bit pages I did in August. So moving on to September. Now September is the month where I say that I've done 3 pages, but 2 of them were postcard pages, so I don't really know if they count. I mean, I counted them because otherwise it would only be 1 page completed for the month. But it did feel slightly like cheating. So we are back to Millie Mortar, despite having ignored her for all of the summer months. And this was a prompt from the Millie Marotta group called September, and it should be in here somewhere. Where are you? Come on, why am I so bad at finding things? I should do that thing where you put post-it notes or a bookmark or something so you can find the pages easy. You know, all these other people that are so organised and there's me just like, where is it? Yeah, so this was a prompt where we were supposed to use an autumn colour palette, and we were supposed to draw steps on the page and then do a different colour between each steps. I didn't actually realise about the autumn colour palette bit until after I had finished this page, but fortunately I coincidentally did an African colour palette which happens to be the exact same colours as the autumn colour palette, so it worked out fine. I can pretend it was definitely intentional, but it definitely wasn't. So this was done entirely with ink pads and Languo acrylic gel pens. Oh, and Artex acrylic markers, because apparently I just put them on everything now. I will say, when I was colouring in the steps, I tried to keep it neat by using a ruler, and unfortunately the ink then bled under the ruler and made more of a mess than if I'd just tried to colour like a manual straight line. So that was unfortunate. But I do really like how this page turned out. I don't often do wallpaper pages because often people, including myself, find them quite boring and repetitive. But for colouring challenges like this, I think they're like the perfect type of page to do. So yeah, that was my September page, and then the two postcards I did, if I can locate them, which means moving a bunch of things off my desk. Here we go. Oh. So the postcards was this capybara. Again, this was done with ink pads and a Languo acrylic gel pen. Actually, two Languo acrylic gel pens. One was a glitter gel pen and one was just a white gel pen. And I did this one, which was my first ever attempt at blending acrylic brush markers with water to make a smoother transition. And then again, I used a lot of Languo acrylic gel pens on this. Mixture of matte and glitter, because if you can add glitter, why wouldn't you? Yeah, I also started a third postcard but never actually finished it. I will at some point, maybe, whenever I feel like it. So yeah, that's the 3/1 and 2 postcards pages I did for September. I think that is all of the Millie Marotta pages. No, all of the Wildlife Wonder pages for now. So moving on to October, this was the first ever time I completed 4 pages within a month. And the first page kind of only half counts because it had been a work in progress up until that point. So that was my pumpkin house page. Yeah, not really much to comment on this one. It was just the usual pencils and acrylics. And then, because I kept seeing this book and I was like, it looks amazing. So, sorry, just trying to dig through a pile here. The Creepy Kawaii Halloween by Cider Mill Press and Ella Jazabek. So, and again, I've shown some of these pages already. This one I did whilst my niece was around, and I did it entirely with Crayola Super Tips. And I realised halfway through, because I was using some of her Crayola Super Tips, that I didn't actually have the rest of the colours myself. I have since gone and bought the pastel set, but that was well after I'd actually completed this page. So the end result is quite rough and sketchy, and I don't really like the skin colour I did, but yeah, it was fun to try and I'm glad that I did. And then this page, which still very much smells, was my first ever time using alcohol markers, by which I mean Sharpies, really old Sharpies I should add. I don't know if they've changed the recipe or anything, but I bought these probably in 2015, 2016, and they absolutely reek. So yeah, this was my first ever alcohol marker page. I went over the alcohol markers with pencil, try and add a bit of shading. The background here, if I turn the page, like you can see it was red, and then I decided that looked absolutely awful, so I went over it with black. But it's not like a proper black because of it, so it's still like a reddy, bluey, purpley black sky. Yeah, I like it. I'm quite pleased with this picture. I did feel quite, not mournful, I don't know the word, but I'm not resentful either. I can't think of the word. Aggrieved, probably, of how easy it was to complete a page with alcohol markers compared to like how long it had been taking me to do stuff with just pencil beforehand. So yeah, aggrieved. But not so aggrieved that I didn't want to continue. So this was also done with alcohol markers and gone over with pencil. And then this was Super Golden marker on the background, recommended by Jess at Colouring Bumblebee, because she'd been using them on her Camellia and Angel Cova pages. And I liked the look of them, so I was like, I'm going to get some too. These leaves look a lot fancier than they are. I did a blue Sharpie, and then I just added shading with a light grey and a dark grey, and that's it. And I think it was really effective. This page hasn't been completed yet. It's a work in progress that I haven't touched since Halloween. I'll get round to it. But yeah, so that was 1, 2, 3, and the page in here, that makes 4 for October. Put that one back away. There we go. So moving on to November. Now, November is a very impressive month, number-wise anyway. I say impressive. Impressive for me. It is by far the most pages I've ever done in a single month, and that is 6. So the first page I completed for November was in Joseph Cattingbang's Mythographic Labyrinth, and that is... I'm going to get buried in books in a minute. Let me put these on the floor. Menagerie. Labyrinth, here we go. So Mythographic Labyrinth. And this page was a colouring buddy with Jess at Colouring Bumblebee. Labyrinth was an untouched book for her, as it was also for me, so we decided to do this page together. I absolutely love how she did her page. She went for a very autumnal palette, so it was the browns and oranges. I thought it looked absolutely lovely. I believe she used alcohol markers and polys for hers. This was Albrecht Dürer done quite heavily in order to make it solid black. This was Albrecht Dürer that I would then, so after doing a wash, I then tried to apply details with dry pencils afterwards. Same with the leaves. The keys, I practiced a variety of techniques, and I think I have thrown the results of that out already, otherwise I would show them. But I did post on Instagram. So I did, what was it? Right, so I did the Albrecht Dürer pencil first, then I activated that with water, then I applied different colour, so I went on with purple first. Yeah, so I did a base of purple and pink, activated it, so I added water. Then I went over that with the silver dry, and then lastly I did an outline to make it glowy with a Languel gel pen. I think that's what I did. Oh, and I think also I may have added a white line as well, just to make it look even shinier. I think my metal work colouring could use some improvement. I like how it looks here on this specific bit, but I don't like how it looks here on this bit. I do like how the keys have turned out. I think that was very effective, but I think this looks very flat when it should have more shine on it. Yeah, they do say we are our own worst critics, so on the whole I am very pleased with this page. I did unfortunately rip a little bit off when I removed the washi tape. And yeah, Jess's was absolutely stunning, and I will show a picture of that in the editing. But yeah, so that was a previously untouched book, Labyrinth. I mean, considering my very first mythographic page was done in April or May, most of my mythographic books are still untouched. But yeah, so after this I then went into Lulu Mayo's A Million Magical Creatures and did the moon swing page. Where did I put that? Oh, it's right next to me, that's why I couldn't see it. So this I did during a lunch break at work. I was in the mood to colour something, so I did. I liked this a lot more before I did the Pink Monster. The colour palette reminds me of Sailor Moon, plus because it's got a moon and ribbons, so that's very Sailor Moon. It was done with acrylic paint pens, and the swing was done with pencil. But everything else was acrylics, even the background. I like how I did the glowy animals. I thought they were very cute. But the problem with this page is that it bled through really badly. You can see here So then I decided to do this page and this page. So I ended up doing 3 pages in a row, all because the first page I did bled through. So that's pages 2, 3 and 4 for this month. So these, I didn't use a single coloured pencil on. These were done entirely with ink pad for the background and acrylics for the main body, and a bit of the shimmery watercolour. Just to go over some details. On this page, I do like the acrylic brush marker background, which I did the water-based blending trick again. I think if the paper was nicer, this would have looked much better, but it still came out okay, I think. And the clouds, again, I don't know what it is about the silver versus the gold Artex markers, but the silver one, if you mix it with water, looks really good. Like, you know, it spreads out nicely and it's really effective. But the gold, and this is an incomplete page, the gold does not do that. It just kind of, it's like it breaks down. So then you've got like a splat of the yellowy gold colour, but then the bit that spreads out is just like the metallic silvery bit. So I'm not sure what the difference is, but the silver is great for spreading and the gold really isn't. And this page, again, I started because there was bleed through. It got to a point I was slightly worried that I was going to end up doing the whole book, because every time I did a page I was going to like create a mess on the next page. Like on this page you can see I they're up here, aren't they? Oh. Another thing that I was inspired to buy because of Jesset Colouring Bumblebee, the Prism Glimmer Mist. I sprayed it on this page just because at this point anything added to this page was gonna not make it worse, but of course I got it on this page as well. So once I've completed this page, I will probably have to do this page, and then this page will probably bleed through, so then I'll have to do this page, and then maybe, just maybe, if I don't use an ink pad on this page, then hopefully nothing will go onto this page and I will be free from this like chain. But yeah, I quite like this one. The bubbles aren't great, but I do like how I did the shell, and like I said, I like the background on this one and I like the clouds. So yeah, this one, if I ever finish it, I like the prism spray on it. We'll just go with that. So then page number 5 for November, we are shifting to R.J. Hanson, and this was a book that I actually received as a gift last Christmas, so that's Christmas 2024, and it had been sat on my shelf uncoloured, and I decided to colour in this page. And again, it's got a bit of a shimmer on it. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but yeah, I thought it was cute, and I was feeling so inspired with this page that I went and started a second page, which is this one, which still isn't finished, but it is at least started. So I used alcohol markers for this, going over with pencils and acrylics. Yeah, I will finish that at some point. And then page 6 for November is from Fantasy Forest, Mythographic Fantasy Forest. And this was another mini group buddy colour with my seasonal mythographic group. So we gave ourselves a further 3 months to do an autumnal page, and the page we did was the Mushroom Gnome. This page actually took me the entire 3 months because I was in the middle of doing the trees, and then I decided I hated trees and never wanted to even look at one ever again. And that took up 2 of the 3 months. It was just like, no more trees. But I did eventually persevere, get through the trees, and then doing the rest was like a cinch. Yeah, I do like how this one turned out. I think it probably could have done with a bit more sort of burnishing, but the idea of going back and doing any more colouring on those trees just fills me with dread, so that will not be happening. I think some of the lights turned out better than others, but yeah, I'm quite proud of this page. It's another one that I did plan out beforehand. In fact, this one I planned out and did the video of my planning, so I will do a side-by-side comparison of the MS Paint design versus the final result, just so you can see how well I stuck to it. But yes, that is the 6th and final page I did for November, and it also was my first page completed in Fantasy Forest, which was quite nice. So moving on to December, I only did 3 pages this month. However, 2 of them were fairly detailed pages. So, and strictly speaking, I'm not supposed to be showing this one yet because we're not supposed to show the project pages until they are all compiled together for the slideshow. But as I previously mentioned, the Millie Mortar group is doing a group project of the Animal Adventures book, and I signed up for 2 pages. The first page, now I haven't counted this as a completed page because although it's coloured in, I ruined this page. I very badly ruined this page. I put masking fluid on this page, and then I went over with an ink pad, and then I don't think I waited long enough for it to dry, either before applying the ink or then when attempting to take the masking fluid off. So the page, it just tore. It's quite bad, like really, really bad. It was bad enough that I was tempted to throw the whole book away and get a new one, but that's not good for the environment, and it's also very kind of silly because it's not like the other pages are unable to be coloured just because one page was ruined, although this page, having had a look at it, is torn as well. This is because of the washi tape. So yeah, that's the second page ruined, and a third if you consider this one because of all the bleed through. But you know, I persevered. I ended up using this as like a trial page to sort of plan out what colours I was going to use, rather than doing it in Microsoft Paint as I usually do. So this isn't the version that's going to get submitted to the group project, because I think I would probably die of shame if that were the case. Because this is a compilation book, I'm going to do the version in Island Escape, and and submit that instead. But the reason I got this book out is because the second page I signed up to do, and this is the page I mentioned that I'm not really supposed to show until the group project is completed. So I'm just going to like do a very quick flash. So 3, 2, 1, whoa, and closed again. Yeah, so the second page I signed up to do was the red-tailed golden arowana, and I use an Inktense background on that, and then a combination of water blended acrylic markers and Inktense pencils dry over the top for detailing. And I am very fond of how that's turned out, but I'm not gonna show it off properly, just out of respect for the group, even though it probably doesn't really matter because the chances of anyone in the group actually viewing this video are quite low. But yeah, so that was the first page that I completed for December, and the second page that I completed for December was in Mythographic Dragonspell, because I joined Vera's at Zoo Vera Arts Dragonspell group colour along or buddy project. There's so many different terms for similar things that I always get mixed up, but we're colouring in the whole book, one page at a time, and each month you vote on which page is going to be next. So the page that was chosen for December was page 39, which should be around here somewhere. Really need to learn to use bookmarks. Here we go. Not this page. This page. So this was done using alcohol marker for the background, felt tips to base the, I think these are lilies of the valley. So felt tips to base the lilies of the valley and the cage, etc. Acrylic brush markers for the dress and the wings, acrylic paint pens for the outlines on the clouds. Just for the shiny light bit, is something that I practiced. Oh, that's my honey page. That was my mushroom gnome page. That was my fish page, and this. So I practiced, it was really straightforward. I just used white pencil and a ruler. Yeah, very, very straightforward. Yeah. The flowers on this I found very difficult though. I once again fell into the trap of paying too much attention to Joseph Kattenbang's line work, and I put far too much focus on trying to cover it up, and yeah, it didn't look great, so I went over it with what did I go over it with? I can't remember. But the end result, they looked very flat because there was like no kind of depth to them. So I went back over them again with a purple purpley grey acrylic marker, blended out with water to make it look less defined. And then I went over that again with a white acrylic marker just to make it look even more faded. So these flowers have had like 5 or 6 layers on them. They feel like cement, and I think they definitely could have been done better. But on the whole, I am very pleased with this page. It's my first completed page in Dragonspell, not the first page that I started working on though, because I still haven't finished this. Every time I look at the gold, I'm just like, maybe some other time. But yeah. And I have also already started work on the January page. Just a quick preview there. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to doing more pages in Dragonspell with this group. And I'm very glad that I joined it. So thank you to Vera for creating that group. Yeah. And then, you know, it being December, you'd think, surely she must have done some Christmas pages, some nice wintry pages. No, is the answer to that. I spent the rest of December colouring in cactuses. Cactuses. And a sheep. I really like the panda. I liked how I did it on here so much that I decided to do this page as well, just so I could do the panda. And then from there I decided to just carry on. So I did the sheep, which is no longer a cactus, it's now like a flower bush. Did the llama, did the bunny, cat. These two aren't finished yet. I suppose this one isn't either because I haven't done the bird. This one I messed up on. I had to draw the features back in with a black pen, so it kind of sticks out a bit now. But it's fine. And these were mostly done with acrylic brush markers and Faber-Castells, because my acrylic brush markers live on my desk and my Faber-Castells, where are they? Oh, I can't reach them. But the small box that I have also kind of just lives around my desk, so they're always the first things that I reach for. Even though I do have the full set now. But what I do is, like, I'll pull stuff out of the full set and then stick them in my little 36 set until that I'm done with them, and then I'll put them back again. So yeah, I'll finish this one at some point. But yeah, this was the page that I completed. This is a work in progress. And no bleed through, so I'm not going to be like chained to having to do them all in order. Oh wait, that doesn't count as bleed through. I refuse to let that count. It's just a bit of ghosting. Is that the term? Textured ghosting. Yeah, we'll ignore that. But yeah, and that is everything. That is every single page that I've coloured in 2025. And I believe the total count, if you include the 2 postcards from September, is 28. In that time, I've also generated a number of works in progress. I believe I'm currently up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, plus the one in here, that makes 11. So yeah, I currently have 11 whips. But yeah, that is everything. And 28 pages might not seem like very much, but considering in 2024 I did maybe 12 pages total, I think that is a vast improvement. and going into 2026, I am hoping to complete even more pages per month. In fact, because I have joined the Dragonspell group, that is 1 page per month, I have also joined another mythographic group which aims to do a page a month, but not in a specific book, so that would bring me up to 24 pages for 2026. Plus, I have also committed to, I hope there's nothing on top of this. Oh, there is. Oops. I've also committed to doing Colouring the Year, which is another group colouring project. This one is a bit harder to calculate though, because each day isn't necessarily, it's not like a day per page, it's like event based. And then I have also committed to doing a winter page with my seasonal mythographic group, which is in Fairy Wonderland, which was a bit unexpected because I had initially thought it was going to be something like Wild Winter, but we've gone for a page in here, which is, where is it? I call it the Pixie page because it has a pixie on it. If I can just find it. There we go. So this is the 3-month seasonal colour buddy that we have for winter. It has snowflakes, so you know that counts as winter. And assuming that we then keep this group going for every season, that's another 4 pages for the year. So 24 plus this book. How many pages is this book? How many pages are you? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, is it going to be 50? 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 36? So assuming that's 36, plus 4 is 40, plus 24, come on Amy, you do a math-based job, 40 plus 24 is 64. Well done. And then I also have the second Millie Marotta colouring project page to do, so that's 65. And then I have signed up to do 2 buddies so far. One with a lovely lady called Colleen. We are going to be colouring in, and you'll see here I have actually learnt to use a bookmark. I say then still fail at opening the page. We have committed to doing this page together, so that'll be fun. And then I also have a buddy planned in April with Joe at Piggy Pens, and we haven't decided on the page yet, but we are probably going to be colouring in, and if I can find the book, there it is. Oh no, everything's gonna fall. We are going to colour a page in Luna, or Luna by Lydia Fenwick, or Oceans to Stars. Joe, that's up to you. I don't mind either. Both of them are untouched for me because I am terrified of colouring in faces. And I don't know what page she might go for. However, I suspect, and I could be wrong, but I suspect it might be one of the horse pages, because 2026 is the year of the horse. Specifically, the year of the fire horse. So if you like Pokemon, then Ponyta and Rapidash, this is your year. But yeah, and I'm sure I will sign up to more buddies at some point. But assuming I actually keep to all of my commitments, that's like 66 pages that I've agreed to do for 2026, which is more than double what I did in 2025. So we'll see just how successful that is. I suspect that I probably won't do 24 mythographic pages, or 30 even. I probably won't be able to keep doing 30 mythographic pages because that is a lot. But we'll see. Yeah. So that is everything for me for 2025. I am going to put out a video of all the books I purchased and colouring supplies that I purchased in 2025, but that will be a separate video because I suspect that this one has been going on for quite a while now. So I hope you enjoyed, and if you watched all the way to the end, thank you very much. I would appreciate it if you could like and subscribe, because that's apparently what you're supposed to do. And yeah, I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.